This program is brought to you in part by the Paul B. Hunter and Constance D. Hunter Charitable Foundation, a proud partner of WUCF and the Central Florida community.
On this edition of Florida Road Trip, we make a stop in North Central Florida in a city that is known for its trees, its major university, its music, and its bats. Join us as we uncover the history and the interesting stories about the city of Gainesville. Florida Road Trip is back on the road. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Florida Road Trip. I'm Buddy Pittman. Thanks for being with us. We're in the beautiful city of Gainesville, the home of the Florida Gators. And if you've ever wondered where Gainesville got its name, well, there's a couple of different opinions on that.
A lot of people will say that Gainesville was named for General Edmund P. Gaines, who was a general in the Seminole Wars. But there's also a theory that Gainesville was named because there was a bit of a controversy over whether or not to move the county seat, and there was some underhanded dealings, and eventually they were able to gain the votes needed to move the county seat. Some of the earliest places where Gainesville is written down does not have the E, which is how it is spelled for General Gaines. It's hard to say, and we'll probably never really know the actual answer of which reason was Gainesville named for.
Gainesville itself began close to 160 years ago, and it was really an initiative to bring the railroad through this part of the state versus Newnansville, and it actually gave birth to the city. And then 152 years ago, the city of Gainesville proper was chartered.
Gainesville has really played a variety of different roles in the state of Florida over the years. Looking back at the Civil War, Gainesville was hugely important for the Confederacy because it was a relatively safe inland location, and this area was really a huge agricultural center. And also Gainesville had the railroads that were able to send these supplies, not just Florida, but the South as a whole during the Confederacy.
One of the founding families of Gainesville was the Matheson family, whose home now serves as the area's history museum.
We are Gainesville and Alachua County's local history museum. As part of the museum, we operate 4 historic buildings. Right now, we're sitting in the 1867 Matheson House. This is the 3rd oldest house in the Gainesville area. Christopher Matheson, who was born here in this house in the 1870s, he was the mayor of Gainesville for about 8 years in the early 1900s. He also served a term in the state legislature. But our favorite Matheson is Sarah Matheson, who was one of the founders of the museum. She was Christopher Matheson's wife, and she is the one who helped to start the museum and gifted the house to the museum. So this Matheson house became part of the History Museum when Sarah passed away in 1996.
You can't really talk about the history of Gainesville without mentioning the University of Florida. It's a major part of the city's history. The school's been around since 1853, but the school did not actually start in Gainesville.
The state of Florida has the dubious distinction of being the only state in the nation to abandon a campus of a state university and move it elsewhere. The University of Florida was originally located in Lake City. It was originally known as the Florida Agricultural College, became the University of Florida in 1903. And then, as a result of the Buckman Act of 1905, the location of the university was left in question.
This was an act by the state legislature to consolidate the schools that the state was supporting into more manageable numbers.
And 10 men, 5 members of the Florida Board of Control and 5 men of the Florida Board of Education had to make a decision about where to locate the university, and they decided to move it to Gainesville.
When the university first opened, it was an all-male college.
The official name of the institution went from Florida Agricultural College to University of Florida, and then because the Buckman Act actually abolished the University of Florida, they renamed it the University of the State of Florida, and then in 1909, mercifully, they went back to the University of Florida.
Perhaps the most iconic landmark on the UF campus is Century Tower, a structure that stands 157 feet tall and was built over 6 decades ago.
Century Tower was built in 1953. It was an idea from our president at the time, J. Hillis Miller. He wanted to have some kind of a memorial to campus veterans who had passed away during World War I and World War II, but he also wanted to celebrate the university's centennial. People think that the tower has always had bells. It has not always had bells. It had the space for the bells, but they didn't have enough funding to actually purchase Carillon bells when they opened the tower in 1956. So they actually had an electronic chime.
However, in 1979, those Carillon bells were finally added to Century Tower at a cost of $200,000.
There are 49 bells. They were cast in the Netherlands and then brought over here on a ship. The biggest one is 69 inches in diameter, and the smallest one is about 7 inches in diameter. And they do a concert every day at noon. One of the Carillon students walks up the 90-some stairs that they have to walk up to get to the top of the tower. And they perform a short 15-minute recital, and then they come back down those stairs and they go on about their day. That is actually part of their course here. When they take the Carillon courses, they actually do get to go up into the tower and play the bells.
Florida's mascot is the gator. Well, was it because there are a lot of gators in Florida? Well, folks really aren't sure.
The Gator nickname was adopted in October of 1911, and nobody knows for sure why. The captain of the 1911 team was a gentleman named Neil Bo Gator Storter. He was the head of the Bo Gator Club. People have attributed the nickname to him. However, Storter denied it. He said there was another reason. There are a lot of reasons been given for as to why we're called the Gators, but the nickname first appears in October 1911. The actual live mascot that we had, that was only used for maybe a couple decades. It wasn't a good idea to have a live alligator as your mascot, so we went with a more friendly current Albert and Alberta.
The university and Gainesville are dependent on each other. They both continue to prosper because of each other.
The university has developed a great deal over the years. It's gone from being a very small two-building campus to the enormous, sprawling campus that we have today. I don't know if anybody back in 1906 would have imagined that the campus would have been what it is now.
Nearby Santa Fe College offers a rather unique class for some 200 of its students. It offers a teaching zoo. Each of these students is enrolled in the Zoo Animal Technology program that the college offers. This is one of only 2 colleges in the entire nation that offers this kind of program.
We're the only facility of our kind that trains zookeepers within an AZA accredited zoo. So that makes us really special. We started in 1970 and then moved to our current location in 1974. And we started as a way to train zookeepers for the express reason of bringing educated and trained staff into zoos and aquariums around the country and really around the world. So the value of the program, it's a hands-on experience. So the students in the program are the zookeepers. We don't hire any zookeepers at all. So the students have to take care of everything in the zoo. That means all the primates, the cats, the snakes, venomous snakes, alligators, birds. They have to do everything. They have to interact with the guests. They have to create diets. They create enrichment. They do welfare assessments on the animals. They are doing everything absolutely that a zookeeper does at any other zoo. And that's the value in the experience here.
It's really amazing. It makes it so much easier to wake up in the morning and come into school or work when you work here. It's just the best. I love how hands-on the program is, and that's really why I joined the zoo field. I've got to work with so many different animals, learn more about myself. I love it so much that I'm actually here 6 days a week by choice, so I really do love coming here.
We're open to the public. We have animal interactions. You can come here and you can interact with some of our birds, with reptiles. We also go out into the community, so we'll bring our animals to nursing homes or to schools, libraries. So we've got a great partnership with our community here. They love us. They visit us all the time, but we want to invite more guests to see what we have here. It's amazing.
The city of Gainesville is also very much into the arts. The University of Florida's Samuel P. Harn Museum of Art is considered by many to be one of the best in the nation.
The Harn Museum of Art was founded in 1990. People come to the Harn all the time and they say things like, I had no idea, I did not know that your museum was so large. Our square footage is now 110,000 square feet. The Harn Museum of Art is the academic art museum for the University of Florida. We are also the community art museum for the city of Gainesville and all of the surrounding counties. One of my favorite pieces is by Claude Monet. It's a beautiful landscape painting. We put a bench in front of it because people love to just sit and be enveloped by the painting. We have a modern collection as well as a contemporary art collection, and we have a growing photography collection. We have a special exhibition of works from the Sam and Robbie Vickers collection. What we're showing is artists from all over the world. In the 19th and early 20th century, they all came to Florida. It's more than 700 artists. They painted beautiful landscapes, but they also painted things that people see out their back door all the time. I think more now than ever, really, art is so important for people to experience. It affects you in ways that you don't even realize. This brings people together. It's certainly bringing our students in more and more, and it brings our community in. And it's just nice to see everyone coming together again.
Also in Gainesville is the Artisan Guild Gallery, which includes items made by over 50 artisans from the Gainesville area.
The Artisans Gallery is unusual in that it is a cooperative gallery of artists. We came together in 1970 to create a place where artists could get together and share resources and ideas and also sell our work. We have just about everything you can imagine: clay and glass and fiber and different kinds of painters, mixed media work, oils, acrylics, watercolor. We have printmakers, we have jewelers. We have someone who does beautiful woodwork, sculptural and functional. It is unusual that we have so many local artists in North Central Florida, so we're very fortunate to have a group of artists that are exceptional. A big reason why I joined initially is that sense of community and family.
Not all of the art is indoors. The 34th Street Wall is an 1,120-foot-long retaining wall along Southwest 34th Street in Gainesville. The wall has been there since 1979 and is notable for being almost entirely covered by graffiti. It has served as sort of an ever-changing bulletin board for the Gainesville community. After decades of use, it is estimated that paint on the center of the wall is about 250 layers thick. Years ago, the city began an urban arts project called 352 Walls, and it has blossomed into a citywide beautification experience.
The 352 Walls program is an urban art initiative that began 6 years ago here in Gainesville. It was started in an effort to bring more muralism to the city of Gainesville, to beautify our built environment, but also to inspire young artists to think about painting murals as a hobby or career choice. When we started, there were very few local artists that were mural painters. Over time, we've done 37 murals by visiting artists to the community, but there have since been hundreds of murals that have been painted here in the Gainesville downtown area and around the entire region. We're very lucky here to have, for a community our size, to have a wonderful art sector. And here in the historic Thomas Center where I sit, we have 3 galleries that feature paintings and artwork from private collectors that wouldn't normally be seen, as well as collections by individual artists that haven't necessarily been exposed in their entirety.
We're delighted once again to have back with us journalist, author, and historian Bob Keeling to talk about the music history here in Gainesville, and Bob, particularly one guy.
That would be Tom Petty. And Buddy, you know, the songs he sung and wrote, the bands he was part of, his friendships are still vivid for many people here in Gainesville.
Under a canopy of shade trees on Northeast 6th Terrace sits the home where Tom Petty grew up. It was right here in 1961. The childhood friend Keith Harbin remembers Petty coming home from watching Elvis Presley in Ocala.
And Tom gets out of the car and says, man, I got to see Elvis. We were watching the filming of this in Ocala, and he walked by and nodded at me.
From that point, Harbin says, Petty was all in on listening to records and reading as much as he could about Elvis.
And it was like a light switch went off in Tom's mind. And for all those years he'd been so dedicated to Elvis, now he's venturing on and he's got this interest in the Beatles.
At that point, Petty was so inspired at 13 years old, he formed his first band, the Sundowners, and played in a back storeroom of his home.
So you literally would hear this music coming out of garages as you drove around town. You know, this little town in Gainesville, we must have had 50, 60 bands.
Former schoolmate Mike Boulware owns Petty's amp from the band in which he started writing his own songs, named Mudcrutch. No one at that point expected Petty to be a star.
At that point, no, because there was no, I mean, we'd see people on TV, and then we'd see our little guys around here doing their thing, but there was no connection between that would be that guy on TV one day.
In late 1973, Petty brought his band and a mobile recording van to the upscale home of keyboardist Benmont Tench. Mudcrutch made their first demo to take to Los Angeles.
Now, honestly, when he left here, I was a typical case of sour grapes. There's 20 more people more talented than him that should have made it, blah, 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 until I really started listening to what he was doing. And, you know, we all took him for granted, I think, in a big way when he was here because he was somebody we knew.
By 1979, Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers were stars. Shortly after the Heartbreakers' 40th anniversary tour, Tom Petty died suddenly. Keith Harbin wanted this park where they had played often as children renamed in his honor.
This is going to be a really good thing for Gainesville to include this park where Tom spent so many hours.
And at the University of Florida, where Petty once worked as a groundskeeper, football fans sing his anthem, I Won't Back Down. It's now a tradition. The middle-class kid from Gainesville never backed down from all the struggle it took to make his rock star dream reality. For Florida Road Trip, I'm Bob Keeling.
In addition to the arts, nature has also been tied to Gainesville. The city has been recognized by the National Arbor Day Foundation as a Tree City USA for the past 40 years.
Gainesville has done a great job maintaining its tree canopy. Of all the cities in Florida, Gainesville has a higher canopy percentage, greater percentage of tree cover than any other city in all of Florida. People really care about the trees here in Gainesville. We've made great efforts to plant more trees, and so we've planted nearly 1,000 trees every year for the last 2 years, and more in the past as well, to really try to maintain and enhance our tree canopy.
Also in Gainesville is the Canapaha Botanical Gardens, which is a 68-acre facility that was first established in 1978. The garden includes the largest public display of bamboo in the entire state. It's simply massive. The beautiful stroll through nature also includes the largest herb garden in the entire southeast United States. Another unique nature spot in Gainesville is called Devil's Mill Hopper State Park. It's like a rainforest here in Florida that sits at the bottom of this 120-foot deep, 500-foot wide cavity. Small streams trickle down the steep slopes of this limestone sinkhole. A set of 236 steps offers visitors a chance to experience the sinkhole firsthand. In the last century, farmers in the area would feed their grain into a funnel-shaped container called hopper. Early homesteaders said this hole looked like a large mill hopper feeding grain to the Devil's Mill at the center of the earth. Thus the name Devil's Mill Hopper. Just a word of warning though, if you go down into the hopper, the only way out is 236 steps back to the top. If you're an animal lover of any kind, then Gainesville is the place for you. I mean, after all, there is Albert and Alberta, the Florida Gators. But they're not the only beloved creatures that call Gainesville home.
Bats are one of the most important mammals whenever it comes to humans. Here in Florida and around the world, insect-eating bats are out there every night consuming mosquitoes, agricultural pests, anything that bites at night. So if we're talking about ecosystem services and agricultural and economic services, bats are unmatched.
The Luby Bat Conservancy was founded over 3 decades ago and is the only bat conservation organization in the world that houses endangered bats while maintaining active conservation and education programs.
Luby was formed in 1989, and we are an international nonprofit organization dedicated to saving bats and their habitats through research, conservation, education. And our 3 priorities boils down to animal care. So we have right now about 162 animals. We ensure that they get the highest care possible based on current zoological practices and philosophies. That is our top priority. Conservation is another one. For 33 years, we've worked in 20 countries, and whenever we do these programs, we always ensure that communities are involved. And I'm proud to say that Luby has helped to save 25 endangered species while working with the communities that are there to do it. The other thing that's part of our philosophies and our priorities is education. So animal care, conservation, education. We take care of our bats, we help to conserve them in Florida and around the world, and we help to inspire that youngest generation of kids to be the next conservation scientists. We have 12 species of bats from our little native Florida bats. We had a couple that we had to rescue that have to have a wing amputated, to the world's largest bat, 5-6 foot wingspan. We have a diverse group of bats here. We love what we do, to be honest. I mean, we've been doing it for 33 years. Let's learn about them. These are beautiful animals, and we're thankful that we live in a world with them.
And for the more exotic animal lover, just outside of Gainesville is the Carson Springs Wildlife Conservation Foundation. But I'm not sure who's happier, the animals or the people that take care of them.
Look at that smile.
Oh, Rhett is such a pest. You're such a pest. I always got to get in the middle of everything.
It is obvious that Christine and Barry Jenks are animal lovers. After years in the horse industry, they decided to use their land in Alachua County to develop the Carson Springs facility, an animal sanctuary that houses more than 25 species of rare and exotic creatures.
Carson Springs is a not-for-profit, what we call educational conservation animal park.
This is Tosh. She's the newest addition to our Carson Springs family. She was born here 6 weeks ago. She's a baby clouded leopard. She's ready, rambunctious.
The land is 250 acres, but the animal park is about on 80 acres. And we have right around 100 animals. That varies. Some of them were raised here. Some of them came from other zoos and facilities to spread genetics around, to have a variety of animals for people to see and be educated about. And other ones have been animals that were confiscated by Fish and Wildlife or rehabs that cannot be released and back into the wild.
As you might expect, this is a costly venture. The foundation does receive some funds from sponsors and visitors, but for the most part, this is a self-funded passion project for the Jenks.
Well, luckily we worked hard during our lives, in our regular business before we, started doing this, and so we had a lot of savings. No kids, so these are our kids here. So we can just, put all the money of ours into the animals, and what better way to spend our money as we get older?
Come on, baby. Here she comes. Our greatest joys, number one, is spending all this time with the animals. But coming here and hearing people say, oh, this is the first place I've been to where the animals look really happy to be here.
Belly rub!
In comparison to, say, what I would call big city zoos, we have the land to do it as large and as natural as we want. And that's such an advantage to the animals.
I'd hate to wake up in the morning and say, oh, I gotta go feed the animals now. I'm actually looking forward to getting out of the house and being, and taking care of the animals and visiting them every morning. I have a purpose in life. That was the whole thing. I have a purpose in life. And my purpose wasn't just to make money or anything, it's to do this.
Nothing in the world to me is more glorious than nature. And the more I see people get away from that, the sadder I think it is. So we're just trying to do our part to turn the tide back to looking at the natural world and enjoying it.
Alachua County has a very popular retirement home where folks just love to come to visit the residents there, probably because it's a retirement home for horses.
The retirement home for horses has been here for 38 years. It was started by my parents, Peter and Mary Gregory. They met while they were going to the University of London, and on dates they used to go to a farm on the outskirts of the city where horses were allowed to rest a few weeks every 6 months. And they decided if they could ever afford it, one day they'd like to have something like that, but to take it a step further, where the horses that come there always stay there to retire. Currently we have 147 retirees. We have actually 143 horses, 3 miniature donkeys, and 1 Zorse, which is half zebra, half horse, and it's on 335 acres. Our mission is to work with law enforcement and other frontline rescue groups to take in elderly horses over 20 years of age that have been seized in cruelty cases. And then we also will take in active police and military horses as we feel they've done their public service and deserve a great retirement. Once a horse comes through our gates, they're never worked or ridden again. They get all the vet care, farrier care, dental care, medications, feed, grain, hay, grooming that they need. A lot of these horses were found starved, abandoned, no food, no water, skin and bones. So we really feel going through something like that, I think they deserve to get pampered. This is the most incredible thing I've ever done in my life. I think every day is an adventure here, and just looking out and seeing the land and the horses, it's really exhilarating. It's incredible.
And that wraps up this Gainesville edition of Florida Road Trip. I'm Buddy Pittman. Thanks for being with us. Join us next time as we continue to explore the rich history that surrounds us all each and every day.
This program is brought to you in part by the Paul B. Hunter and Constance D. Hunter Charitable Foundation, a proud partner of WUCF and the Central Florida community.